Good day, everyone. Today, I'm gonna discuss about gifted students with disabilities education. Today, we're gonna focus on four major points defining gifted students with disabilities, their characteristics, as well as the general principles in supporting them, and also the evidence-based practices in supporting gifted students with disabilities. Let us start by defining who are gifted students with disabilities. So they are commonly known as twice exceptional students or 2E students, and these are the terms used in the literature to describe them. And the term was coined by James Gallagher to refer to students who are both gifted and have disabilities. And as far as we have researched, there is no legal federal definition that guides the identification of students who are twice exceptional or 2E students. Therefore, the definition of students who are twice exceptional are based on the federal legal definitions of students with disabilities and students with gifts and talents. So, based on that premise, here are some of the definitions that define students who are twice exceptional. So, according to National Association for Gifted Children or NAGC, they are students who are described as gifted, who have the characteristics of gifted students with the potential for high achievement and give evidence of one or more disabilities as defined by federal or state eligibility criteria. So this is kind of straightforward. So it gives us the disability and gifted characteristics, as well as it also states that the disability should be defined by the state or federal eligibility criteria. Next definition is by Trail on 2022. So these are students who have potential for high achievement or creative production in one or more domains or specific areas of interest and have one or more accompanying disorder or disability as defined by federal IDEA eligibility. So it's kind of similar on the definition of NAGC, which includes the disability and the giftedness characteristic, and also the disability should be defined federally with the IDEA eligibility. But there's a new component here. So the combination of high abilities and disabilities creates a unique learner with diverse needs, whose strengths may mask their disabilities and deficits may mask their gifted potential. So there is a component now of masking because there's a tendency that the potentials will be covered with the disabilities, and in reverse, the disabilities will cover or mask the gifted potentials of the child. Another one is a definition created by professionals that convened in Indianapolis in November 2013. It's a twice exceptional community of practice summit or the 2ECOP summit held in November 2013, and they created a mutually agreed upon definition of twice exceptionality. And here it is. These are individuals with that evidence exceptional ability and disability, which results in unique set of circumstances, and their exceptional ability may dominate, heightening their disability, and their disability may dominate, hiding their exceptional ability. So there's masking also in this definition, and each may mask the other so that neither is recognized or addressed. So there's a component that there's a difficulty on identifying which is which characteristic is being um, manifested by the child. So in these three definitions that I might say working definitions, so Students with twice exceptionality has characteristics of giftedness and disabilities, and their characteristics are unique because of the combination of those exceptionalities. And there's the component of masking. So the disabilities mask the potential giftedness, and the giftedness mask the disabilities. Now let's go on the characteristics of twice exceptional students. But take note, these characteristics are not a final list of characteristics. So students are different in each other. So these are just general lists of characteristics. Cognitive and academic characteristics of these children. So they have high verbal ability, curious, asks questions, high levels of reasoning and problem solving skills. They are imaginative, thinks outside the box. Okay, so generally they have similar cognitive characteristics with their gifted counterparts. However, most of them encounter slow information processing, with regards to memory storage and retrieval. They have problems related to planning, prioritizing, and organizing in these executive functions. The usual problems are in reading, writing, and math. They avoid school, they fail to complete assignments, and there's a discrepancy or difference in their potential abilities and their academic achievements. So teachers may know that these children have potential gifts, but their grades are not reflective of their potential abilities. Socio-emotional characteristics. So they are typically withdrawn, socially withdrawn. They have difficulty relating to peers. They have problems maintaining relationships. They cannot read social cues. They lack self-advocacy skills. They are highly sensitive to criticism. They are perfectionists with high levels of frustration. They are anxious and they have low self-esteem. With students with twice exceptionality, the social emotional characteristics is a major problem because they are center of ridicule inside the classroom. They are targets of bullying, and one major difficulty that they have is maintaining social relationships, being with others, so that they are typically socially withdrawn. And because of their conflicting characteristics, the challenges that they have and the potentials that they have, they develop low self-concept that leads to low self-esteem and low self-efficacy. They think that they cannot do anything better because though they know that they excel in some abilities, but they have some challenges that they have in themselves, and they think that they cannot do anything else better than that. Physical characteristics, they are generally able-bodied, but some may have physical disabilities or sensory disabilities. They may be clumsy with delayed motor skills. They may be sensitive to loud noises or bright lights, irritated on how they feel certain materials, or they may be obsessed with toys and objects, and they may be distracted and with high levels of energy. Adaptive and self-help characteristics. They may have leadership skills, but their disability might interfere with their leadership skills. They are independent at times, but they may rely to adults most of the time or often. They are unwilling to take risks because they are anxious. Maybe they will do failures in the long run. They have streetwise behavior, so they can navigate outside the classroom. They can have the streetwise wisdom outside the classroom or the school. They have broad interest or focus interest that makes them concentrated and passionate about things that they like. So here's a diagram of the clashing strengths and challenges. And this diagram shows us the general characteristics of students with twice exceptionality. And because of these contrasting characteristics, school becomes a frustrating experience for the child, for the parents, and teachers. So having positive attributes or abilities as well as challenges within the child makes the child confused, doubting himself or herself, as well as the parents. They doubt their child about his or her abilities, and also the teachers. It makes the teachers confused about what intervention should be given to the child. And this clash uh, makes a stressful event to the child, to the parents, and teachers. And because of that, the child uh, typically hates school experiences. Given the nature and the characteristics of children who are gifted and with disabilities, now let's go to the principles on how to support this student population. First principle talks about the early identification of both exceptionalities. Because either strengths or needs mask each other, it is challenging to ascertain that a child is qualified for special education services or gifted education services. Sadly, what happens is that twice exceptional students receive either gifted education services or learning challenges services only, neglecting the other half of the twice exceptional condition. Early identification ensures that the child will receive appropriate education and services dealing with his gifted potentials and learning needs as soon as possible and to the full maximum time. Second principle talks about comprehensive assessment to identify the learning profile of the child. The multidisciplinary team should look into the student's strengths, interests, learning needs and challenges, preferred learning strategies, and even the socio-emotional needs to create a holistic learning profile of the child. And it should come from various sources like portfolios, interest inventories, observations, cognitive and other psychometric tests, interviews from parents and teachers, and historical review of academic achievement to see the trend in the performance of the child. Third principle is concerned with collaborative planning. The multidisciplinary team reviews the comprehensive assessments and develops a plan to meet the child's diverse needs as twice exceptional learner. The plan must include a continuum of strategies to nurture gifted potentials, support cognitive processing deficits, encourage academic achievement, foster social relationship, and promote emotional understanding. The fourth principle, there should be a strength-based, talent-focused approach with sufficient access to appropriate learning opportunities. More likely, these students will be frustrated by themselves because of the disabilities they have despite their potential gifts. It is important to emphasize their areas of strengths while supporting their areas of needs. Twice exceptional learners have to experience success before they will be willing to work on areas of weaknesses. Principle 5. Interventions for learning and processing deficits including explicit instruction, compensatory strategies, accommodations, and use of technology. So most of students with twice exceptionality have problems in information processing and independent learning techniques. So these areas should be focused on them through interventions and accommodations necessary for them. Principle 6. Counseling and interventions to foster social relationships, promote emotional understanding, and celebrate neurodiversity. Since majority of problems occur in the socio-emotional domain of these students, counseling services are important for them to overcome social withdrawal, anxiety, and poor self-concept. Principle 7 talks about progress monitoring, and it is to ensure adequate progress toward cognitive, academic, social, and emotional goals. And it is important so all stakeholders can see if the comprehensive goals are met and if there's a necessity to review the child's program itself. So these 7 principles are general guidelines on how are we going to support children that are twice exceptional, from identification to program creation to instruction, and then progress monitoring and evaluation of the program. Now let's go to the evidence-based practices for children who are twice exceptional. Number 1, know the difference between twice exceptional students and gifted underachiever. Students with twice exceptionality may be mistaken as lazy or not doing their best or distracted if their performance does not reflect their potential, and they may be subject to unnecessary labeling. So, teachers should be aware what a twice exceptional and gifted underachiever are. There should be a comprehensive assessment to determine if underachievement is brought by a disability-related factors or not. And assessment sources should come from various sources, like what we have mentioned a while ago. Number 2, emphasize the strengths of twice exceptional students first. Emphasizing on student strengths will boost their confidence on themselves. It will further increase their academic self-concept, which will help them to gradually take difficult tasks. Celebrating their interests and preferences will also help them recognize themselves as an efficacious student capable of learning. So teachers must provide opportunities for them to study the contents and express their learning based on their strengths, preferences, or interests. Number 3, provide instruction that addresses the learning needs of twice exceptional students second. Emphasizing learning needs second doesn't necessarily mean putting less priority on their needs. Teachers should celebrate strengths first so students will have the confidence to face their difficulties. Align activities and instruction with their needs and incorporate their interests so students will engage in the learning process. So if a child needs organization skills development, teach them how to navigate in the space. Maybe you can teach them how to label each materials inside the classroom, or maybe you can teach them how to organize their writing by teaching them organizing writing skills by annotating, something like that, providing them overview of assignments and make short-term goals and checkpoints if they're feeling anxious of achieving short assignments or short goals. So let let's have some benchmarks so that they are regulating their performance and they know that they are achieving much in completing their tasks or goals. So it's a balance between dealing with their strengths and also dealing with their learning needs. Number 4, we should support the socio-emotional needs of twice exceptional students. Supporting the socio-emotional needs of these students is needed. Aside from the clinical or professional socio-emotional services given to them, it is important that these students feel valued, respected, and welcomed in the classroom while acknowledging their potentials and difficulties and differences. So, providing varied groupings or activities should exist. It is also helpful that the environment is accepting, yet providing challenging activities to the child. Number 5, require ongoing communication and collaboration between special education teachers, gifted specialists, and families. Collaboration is a must given that the double challenge of supporting twice exceptional children. Families have more information about the strengths and the needs of the child, and the school has much capacity to develop instructional programs for the child. And also, related service providers like psychologists and counselors or other gifted education teachers have valuable inputs in the education of the child. So, becoming one and consistent in collaboration will bring the best programming options for the child. And it's not that much that these stakeholders collaborate in a regular basis. So as simple as a communication notebook that travels from school to home and home to school is a great and non-exhaustive example or mode of collaboration, and it could also be shared among the multidisciplinary team. So there must be a way on how we collaborate with each other for the better benefit of the child. So here are some questions that will serve as a take-off point for each members of the multidisciplinary team in order to have effective collaboration among each other. Another evidence-based practice for students who are twice exceptional is the dual emphasis approach. Given the nature of twice exceptionality having contrasting characteristics, one has the potentials and one has the challenges, research has suggested that there should be a dual emphasis on those areas of concerns. So basically, dual emphasis approach says that interventions, accommodations, or strategies should focus on the strengths and also on the challenges that these students experience. So, so that we have a whole child integrated approach on how we help these kids. So here are some strategies used within the dual emphasis approach, and these are from the Colorado State Department of Education 2017. One is content extension. So this is the process of extending the curriculum beyond what is typical or expected in the class or grade level. Content extension includes exposure beyond the regular curriculum. So exposure to new ideas, skills, and concepts not encountered before. So it involves introducing topics or concepts that are not in the curricular content of the grade level. So for example, if a twice exceptional student is in the second grade curriculum and should study until subtraction of numbers, the teacher can expose them in the contents of multiplication and division. So because it's not yet given in the second grade curriculum, the teacher might opt to do that if he or she is doing this content extension option. Another option is extension of the regular curriculum. So it's going more broadly and deeply into the ideas already introduced in that curriculum. So basically, it is staying on the same curricular content, but the exploration becomes deeper and complex. So for example, if a student is currently mastering addition using place value counters or exploring addition in a concrete way, how does the student relate it to the standard algorithm? Or what relationship the student can infer from adding using concrete objects to standard algorithm. So that's an example to illustrate this option. Another option is concept development. So it involves integration of other disciplines and seeing the relationship of concepts. So for example, if the student is studying about the concept of extinction in sciences, how does it relate to environmental science and economics? What relationships can the student infer in that? So in concept development, the child is kind of exploring the concept develop relationship, develop concepts into it, and try to relate it to other disciplines or subjects. Another strategy is acceleration, which is the appropriate movement of a student or curriculum by pace or place to match learning opportunities with students' strengths, readiness, and needs. And it could come in different forms like single subject acceleration, wherein the delivery of curriculum is in one subject area by either moving the child into a higher grade level or providing higher grade level curriculum in age-based classrooms. It could be concurrent enrollment. The child is attending classes in more than one grade or building. So, for example, in the middle school student attends a class in the high school. Other option is post-secondary options. High school students are allowed to spend part of their day taking college or university classes on-site or online and receive both high school and college credit. Distance learning, so courses taken regular school time for personal interest or credit. Advanced placement or international baccalaureate, students take AP or IB high school courses and take a test to qualify for college credit. Or it could be independent study, where the student pursues an area of interest in depth or required curriculum at pace that meets their individual needs. Another strategy is the use of higher order thinking skills. In the curriculum of twice exceptional students, since they have generally same cognitive abilities with their gifted counterparts, so it should be an integral part of their curriculum. But the challenge is some of the students um, exhibit slow information processing, so teachers can help by modeling and teaching metacognitive skills. So use think aloud to help students develop their thinking language. And teachers can focus on different areas of higher order thinking. So it could be in analytical thinking skills, it could be in critical thinking skills, it could be in executive processing skills, it could be in creative thinking skills and creative problem solving skills. Another strategy is giving effective and guidance and counseling support to these students. So we know that the socio-emotional domain of these kids are challenging. So socio-emotional support through self-development activities and guidance and counseling services are important to lessen the social isolation, the anxiety, and poor self-concept, and to enable them to create valuable relationships inside the classroom. So it's really a must that not only the professionals who are providing counseling services support these children, the people inside the classroom, the teachers and also the classmates should establish a nurturing um, environment. Another strategy is providing differentiated instruction. It considers the uniqueness of the child, so deciding what contents should be mastered, what learning activities are needed, and what assessment activities should be given need to be reflective of the student's strengths, interests, and also the needs. So we should consider the whole profile of the child when we differentiate or kinda change the content, the process, and the output components of the curriculum. So, for example, if the child is not good in written expression and he or she has to practice communication skills, maybe we can differentiate the output part of the curriculum. Maybe he or she can have choice boards that includes oral presentations and discussion forums so that the student can show his or her learning to the class. Another strategy that teachers can use is teaching explicit compensatory strategies. So these are the skills that explicitly taught to students that when implemented by the students, will allow them to complete tasks independently. So the goal of teaching compensatory strategies is to enable them to become successful in the learning environment. So for example, you want your child to edit his or her work by himself or herself. So maybe you can teach the student how to use the spelling checker or to read aloud his or her work so that as the student edits it, he will or she will be aware of grammar that are erratic, something like that. Or when you teach your student of organization skills, so you can teach the child color coding of the materials inside the classroom or coding of his or her materials in his bag. So those skills should be taught explicitly in sequential steps and deliberately. So here are the references for this presentation, and if you want further reading, you can refer to them. And that is the end of this presentation. I hope you learned something on how to support students who are twice exceptional. And with this presentation attached is the comprehensive written report, so you can refer on that if there's something that you want to know more about supporting this student population. And with that, thank you so much, and I wish you have a good day.